안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. Thank you very much for having me.
이번에 이렇게 좋은 인터뷰 하게 해주셔서 너무나 감사합니다.
Well, it's my pleasure. I'm happy to join. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the Korean community.
혹시 지금 현재 이민 절차, 우리 한인들을 위해서도 그렇고 아시안들을 위해서도 그렇고 이민 절차가 잘 진행되고 있다고 보시는지요? 연방상원의원이 되셔서 바꾸고 싶으신지 여쭙고 싶습니다.
Well, sadly, our immigration process in America is completely broken, and it's difficult to go through the legal immigration process. And we have millions of people crossing illegally over our southern border, and it's not really fair to the people that are struggling to try to get citizenship and go through the normal process. So I think we need to secure the southern border of the United States, and then we have to fix our broken immigration system. We have to find a way to have Republicans and Democrats come together and stop fighting with one another and to come up with a real solution, because we're not able to get a lot of people in that we really need for our economy. And yet we have tremendous problems with people crossing the border that are causing difficulties. So I know people that have gone through the immigration process, like my wife, immigrating from Korea, and others. They feel like they follow the process and they're sometimes unfairly punished because of the people who don't follow the process.
범죄가 계속해서 문제가 되고 있는데요. 이 문제에 대해서 특별히 연방 상원의원이 되시면은 계획하고 계신 게 있는지 궁금합니다.
Yeah, unfortunately, crime is a very big problem, and it's particularly in certain parts of the state of Maryland. Prince George's County, right outside of Washington, D.C., the suburbs right outside of Washington, crime is increasing dramatically. So in Baltimore City, Prince George's County, and some Montgomery County surrounding Washington and Baltimore, we have, unfortunately, violent crime is a concern. It's the number one concern of the people in that part of our state. It's not as bad in the whole rest of the state of Maryland, but in those jurisdictions, murder rate in Prince George's County, for example, is up 100%. Carjackings, or stealing cars, is up 500%. So it's something that I want to really focus on. And when I was governor of Maryland, we supported tougher sentences for repeat felons and violent criminals. And we also pushed to support the police, investing more money into police and trying to do something about the increasing crime. So it's a problem that we've got to address at the federal government along with our state and local governments.
그렇다면은 아시안 아메리칸 혐오범죄, 헤이트 크라임 문제 계속 늘어나고 있는데요. 그거에 대해서 또 어떻게 특별한, 또 특히 한인 커뮤니티를 위해서, 코리안 아메리칸 커뮤니티를 위해서 하고 계신 계획하고 계신 것이 있는지 궁금합니다.
Well, as a father of Korean daughters and Korean grandchildren and a Korean wife, I personally saw firsthand some of these terrible issues. My own family was experiencing that, and their friends. It became much worse during COVID when there was a lot of lashing out against the Asian community. I was the first governor in America to form a Asian hate crimes work group. It was headed up by former U.S. Attorney Robert Hur, who's Korean. My daughter, Yumi, who's one of the first Korean prosecutor elected in America. My wife was very involved. First Lady spoke out very strongly. I was the first non-Asian person to speak out very strongly against Asian hate crimes on national television. We took action. The Asian Hate Groups Work Group came up with a number of recommendations which we implemented. We did things like, some people were hesitant to report hate crimes because of a language barrier or culture. So there were people, having problems in their communities, in their small businesses, and they didn't always know how to tell the police. And so one thing we did was have translation services. So when people had issues, everyone, whatever language, whatever Asian language, that you could go on and make those reports. And we tried to encourage people to tell us when they're experiencing these things. But hate crimes has no place in Maryland or America. And I think it was important to have leaders speak out strongly against it. And I will continue to do that. I think it still continues to be an issue. And it's something that I'll be a voice and a champion against, for the Asian community and against Asian hate crimes.
아마 그 한국 아내와 또 자녀분들 다 갖고 있는 또 특히 이런 부분에 대해서 특별히 신경 쓰는 분이셔서 한국사위라는 별명이 붙은 게 아닌가 싶은데요.
I'm very proud to be a 한국사위, and I understand this issue particularly well. So I remember my daughters all getting on the phone and telling me about experiences they were actually having with hate crimes and what some of their friends were experiencing. So I was, when I spoke up about this issue, it came from the heart. Not just because I have great respect for the Asian community and because of my support for the Korean community, but we felt it very personally.
그래서 또 한국에 관련된 이야기 조금만 더 해보면요. 한인들이 주로 스몰 비즈니스를 많이 오온하고 있거든요. 실질적으로 스몰 비즈니스 하시는 그런 소상공인들을 위한 정책, 그러니까 예를 들면은 실제로 그 정부에서 제정한 여러 가지 제도들이 오히려 스몰 비즈니스 소상공인들의 발목을 잡거나 아니면 또 직접 그 직원들을 이렇게 채용하려고 하는데 여러 어려움이 있거나 하는 등의 여러 그 문제들 때문에 성공하는 데 있어서 많은 장애를 겪는 경우가 많은데 그것에 대한 연방상원의원으로서의 구체적인 정책이 있는지 좀 궁금합니다.
Well, it's a great question. So I'm actually a lifelong small business owner myself. And I never held elective office until I became governor of Maryland. And the only reason I ran, because I was a small business owner that saw how hard it was to do business, to deal with the red tape and the bureaucracy and the taxes and the roadblocks to success. All small business owners have those same issues, and it's a big problem that we try to address at the state of Maryland, and I intend to try to address at the federal government. But I think some, hardworking Asian small business owners have the same difficulty, but more so because they don't sometimes, so they can't to make it through all of the confusing red tape. Even native speakers or native-born people in the Caucasian community, people that are born here, they can't figure out how to get through it. And if someone is a Asian small business owner that may have even more difficulty trying to be successful. We have so many hardworking small business people in the Asian community, many Korean small businesses, and we've got to make it. They're the backbone of our economy, and we've got to help them cut through the red tape, make it easier for them to do business so they can succeed. And provide for the next generation. I think I'm so proud of of how much they contribute to our economy, and how hard the Korean communities, small businesses work, and we ought to make it more easy for them to do business, and we should have less taxation, less fees, easier process, and cutting through the red tape. But it's a major problem. I eliminated thousands of job-killing regulations when I was governor. I cut taxes on small businesses. I cut taxes 8 years in a row by $4.7 billion. But the federal government is even more cumbersome and more difficult and hard and confusing to go through. So I'm going to work on doing those same things in Washington.
메릴랜드의 노인 커뮤니티, 엘더리 커뮤니티가 있는데요. 혹시 은퇴 후에 계속 메릴랜드에 머물고 싶어하는 그런 노인 커뮤니티를 위한 특별한 정책이 또 있을까요?
Yes, it's a big issue that I've been very passionate about for many years. When I was first running for governor, thinking of running for governor, I went around the state of Maryland and I kept hearing older people say to me, they say, I love the state of Maryland. I don't want to leave my kids and grandkids, but I can't afford to stay here. It's too expensive, too much taxes. And so one of the things I wanted to do was make it easier for retirees, older people. I wanted to make it easier for hardworking families and small businesses also. But on the retirees, one thing we fought for 8 years with our legislature to finally pass the Retirement Tax Elimination Act, which because one of the reasons older people were leaving our state because they were being taxed. Other states were not taxing their retirement, and so we finally passed that. So that bill is being phased in so that older Marylanders will not have to pay any state tax on their income, on the retirement income. At the federal level, we've got to work to make sure that we protect things like Social Security and Medicare and the federal programs that are helping the elderly. And I'm going to continue to look out for them because, one thing about the Korean culture is they respect their elders. And that's one thing I learned from my wife and from my visits to Korea. We don't do a good job of that in America. And so I think I'm going to do everything I can to take care of our retirees.
감사합니다. 네, 그 주지사로서 메릴랜드 주지사로서 했던 많은 좋은 경험, 풍부한 경험이 있으신데요. 연방상원의원이 되시면 아무래도 글로벌 무대에서 글로벌 도전을 만나게 될 텐데 혹시 그런 경험이 어떻게 적용될 수 있을지 궁금합니다.
Oh, it's a very good question. It's a different job. We live in very global times where we're dealing with issues around the world, many problems around the world. I think America has got to stand up for its friends and allies, like the people of South Korea. I think we did a lot of economic development after I became governor. My very first trade mission was to South Korea. We can develop relationships that will last forever. I spent time meeting the leaders around the world while I was governor. We had trade offices all across the globe. But we live in times where it's really a global community. And I think that my experiences as governor hopefully will translate to the federal level. It's a different set of issues and things that I have to now focus on. It was not the main part of my job as governor, but we probably had more experience than most people that go to Washington.
같은 맥락에 비슷한 질문이 되겠는데요. 특별히 한국과의 경제 발전 협력에 대해서는 어떤 정책을 갖고 있는지도 궁금하네요.
Well, it's something. Look, we have a very special relationship. First of all, Korea is a great friend and ally to the United States. I want to make sure that our federal policy reflects that. We have a very special relationship with the state of Maryland. You mentioned, 한국사위. I think Korea is a very important ally strategically. I think economically, they were one of our biggest trading partners for the state of Maryland. I think our economies depend on one another. And on things, like we import Korean vehicles into the port of Baltimore. We work on so many different things together. I think there's plenty of more opportunities with electric batteries, with vehicles, with electronics, with all of the things that Korea does so well. Such a booming economy. America's a huge market. And I think there's a lot more that we should do with trade opportunities between our two nations.
마지막 질문 드리겠는데요. 개인적으로 궁금한데요. 혹시 유미 호건 여사님을 어떻게 만나셨고 또 어떻게 청혼까지 하셨는지 직접 한번 듣고 싶습니다.
Well, it's I met my wife at an art show. My wife is an artist and she's an art professor now. And frankly, I pretended to be interested in the art, but really I was more interested in the artist. And I was just my wife and I, sometimes opposites attract, and that was the case with the two of us. But I'm so thankful because she's been the reason for my success. It introduced me to the Korean culture. I have a wonderful family together. And she was a wonderful first lady for the state of Maryland. And she really helped me in everything that I've done. So I'm proud to be her wife. She's pretty much the boss of my family. I used to say, I might be the governor of Maryland, but I'm not the governor of my house. Korean women are pretty strong, and my wife is one of those.
이 시계 차고 계신 거 혹시 그 코리안 시계 아닌가요? 혹시?
So Korean, President Moon gave me this watch. I have one from President Moon and President Yoon, too, both times for Korea. I'm very proud of that. I'm surprised you noticed that one. I wore it especially for you today.
감사합니다. 오늘 인터뷰 너무나 감사했고요. 직접 듣게 돼서 너무 영광이었습니다. 그리고 꼭 연방상원의원 되셔서 코리안 아메리칸, 그다음에 아시안 아메리칸들의 또 한국 사위로서 또 아시안들의 사위로서 큰 역할을 해주셨으면 감사하겠습니다.
Thank you for your time today. It was an honor speaking to you. We hope you become the U.S. Senator to work also for the Korean community as 한국사위, and we are sure that you will have a big role in American politics.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity today. I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to speak to the Korean American community and to the Korean community, Asian community, and I'm very proud to be a 한국사위. I appreciate it. I read somebody in the Korean media last week called me, had a new name. I forgot how to say it in Korean, but they were calling me the sleeping dragon to politics. I like that one.
감사합니다. 감사합니다.